Since 1797, the House of Representatives has impeached 16 federal officials. These include 2 presidents, a cabinet member, a senator, a justice of the Supreme Court, and 11 federal judges. Of those, the Senate convicted and removed 7, all of them judges. Not included in this list are office holders who have resigned rather than face impeachment, most notably Tricky Dick Richard Nixon. Hi to all the history buff supporters who are watching this. I want you to know that I appreciate this and your support. Please subscribe, leave a comment down below. This is a history
hot topic,
which means that there's something going on in current events and I'm tying it to something that has happened in the past, or I'm giving it a little bit of history on it. So check out the timestamp and date as to when this is going on, and maybe you can make that connection. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you really like this content, and feel free to join the Patreon account. Every dollar helps, and it keeps the channel moving forward. Thanks again. History hot topics are based on current events, something that I don't discuss for a litany of reasons on this channel, but it's usually related to a current news story or event. However, if you do feel the need to check out some commentary on such things, may I recommend Viva Fry's channel. The link's right above and the eye with the circle around it. The right to impeach public officials is secured by the U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Sections 2 and 3, which discuss the procedure, and Article 2, Section 4, which indicates the grounds for impeachment. Removing an official from office requires 2 steps. 1, formal accusation or an impeachment by the House of Representatives, and 2, a trial, and thus then a conviction. So high crimes and misdemeanors really mean an abuse of power, serious misconduct in office, bribery, perjury, and treason. They all go under high crimes and misdemeanors. The first official impeached person in this country was Senator William Blount of Tennessee for a plot to help the British seize Louisiana and Florida from Spain in 1797. The Senate dismissed the charges in January of 1799, determining that it had no jurisdiction over its own members, so a Senate could not impeach a senator. The Senate and the House do, however, have the right to discipline their own members, and the Senate expelled Blount the day after his impeachment. The first official actually convicted was Judge John Pickering of New Hampshire. He was found guilty of drunkenness and unlawful rulings on March 12, 1804. He was believed to be insane. Other officials were implicated in bribery, cheating on income tax, perjury, and treason. But when it comes down to it, there were 2 U.S. presidents who have been impeached. First of them was Andrew Johnson, who was a Southern Democrat. He became president after Lincoln's assassination. He supported a mild policy of Reconstruction after the Civil War. The Republicans in Congress were furious at his leniency towards the ex-Confederates and the obvious lack of concern for ex-slaves. This was demonstrated by his veto of the Civil Rights Bill and opposition to the 14th Amendment. Now imagine how the 1960s would be changed if there was an actual Civil Rights Bill in the 1860s. So to protect Johnson's administration and diminish the strength of the president, Congress passed the Tenure of Office Act in 1867, and this prohibited the president from dismissing office holders without the Senate's approval, because a lot of them were left over from Abraham Lincoln and were in the same wavelength in terms of thought as
the Senate.
So Johnson tested the constitutionality of the act, and he attempted to oust Secretary of War Edmund Stanton, again a holdover from Lincoln. His violation of the act became the basis for his impeachment in 1868. But the Senate was 1 vote short of the 2/3 majority needed to convict, and Johnson was acquitted in May of 1868. Charles Sumner, who was witnessing the procedures, he defined them as very political in character, and historians today generally agree with that assessment and consider the grounds for Johnson's impeachment flimsy at best. The Tenure of Office Act was declared unconstitutional in 1926. Now in my era, Bill Clinton was ultimately dragged down, but not defeated by character issues. The investigation was into real estate dealings, which the Clintons had prior to his presidency. They failed to turn up anything that really implicated the president. However, they managed to find some stuff with an intern named Monica Lewinsky. And the bottom line was Bill Clinton admitted to having an affair with Monica Lewinsky. When it was made public, many felt the report was filled with lurid details of Clinton's sexual encounters with Lewinsky, rather than a legal justification for impeachment. So legal justification for his impeachment was grand jury perjury, civil suit perjury, obstruction of justice, and abuse of power. On December 19th, there weren't enough votes to convict the president. He was a Democrat, and the Republicans were voting along party lines, but there just wasn't enough. Many officials would rather resign than face embarrassment of a public trial. The most famous of these, of course, was Richard M. Nixon, a Republican. After 5 men were hired by the Nixon re-election committee were caught burglarizing the Democratic Party headquarters at the Watergate complex on June 17, 1972, Richard Nixon and his subsequent behavior, his cover-up of the burglary and refusal to turn over evidence led to a House Judiciary Committee to issue 3 articles of impeachment in 1974. The document indicted Nixon for illegal wiretapping, misuse of the CIA, perjury, bribery, obstruction of justice, and other abuses of executive powers. And the ruling was, quote, "In all of this, Richard M. Nixon has acted in a manner contrary to his trust as a president and subversive of constitutional government to the great prejudice of the cause of law and justice, and to the manifest injury of the people of the United States." Impeachment appeared inevitable, and Nixon resigned in 1974. Now you know your history hot topic.